What are subtle, unspoken signs that someone had an extremely traumatic childhood, life? Always apologizes for everything, asks are we okay or did I do something wrong? All the time, cannot take compliments, does not believe everything is okay, is not able to relax even if nobody is at home, always afraid to be seen as lazy and not worthy. But this is just me? Low self-esteem, difficulty accepting compliments or constantly feeling inadequate. 100%. I had a crisis yesterday because a friend was going to visit me and my husband at home. Turns out my husband made other plans. I panicked and cancelled the hangout because there's no way they just wanted to hang out with only me. I agonized and finally asked them to come over anyway. And it was great. They actually wanted to hang out and catch up. We talked for hours and another friend even stopped by. It's taken decades to have the confidence to even believe I'm worth talking to. ETA, thank you all so much for the encouraging comments. It is very comforting to know I'm not alone in this experience. To all the very sensitive people in this thread, there are good people in this world who will love you if you let them. I highly recommend the book Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents by Lindsay Gibson for anyone who resonates with this thread. It is free on the Hoopla app with a library subscription. Insanely independent. They've learned not to trust anyone to help them, so do everything themselves. Uck, yes, I had a lot of this, but there was one big moment when I was about 10. I came to my parents with a pretty significant problem and was told that they couldn't do anything about it. And they didn't try to comfort me or support me about it in any way. I remember so clearly saying to myself, well, I'm on my own, in a very matter-of-fact way. And it's been like that ever since. Noticing minutiae of body language and habits. They develop high levels of awareness of subtle behaviors in an attempt to prevent, or prepare for, abuse. Yep. Oh shit, he didn't hold my hand when we walked across the street just now. I must have fucked up. It's exhausting. My ex was abusive and now I critique everything my now husband does, just looking for a cue of what I've done wrong, which in 8 years I don't think he's said anything negative about me once. Which then really freaks me out, lol. Not being able to handle little things life throws at you, but able to leap mountains when all hell breaks loose. Damn. This. I'd call myself very good at the big emergencies. Calmly and efficiently directing and doing what is needs to keep things moving in the right direction. But man, stupid little issues that shouldn't get a second thought can really send my stress through the roof and make me utterly useless. Control issues. People who try desperately to control their surroundings, their life, or try to prevent bad things from happening by overthinking and overanalyzing are usually compensating for the lack of control they experienced in their childhood. Or at least that's my problem, lol. Insanely independent. They've learned not to trust anyone to help them, so do everything themselves. Uck, yes, I had a lot of this, but there was one big moment when I was about 10. I came to my parents with a pretty significant problem and was told that they couldn't do anything about it. And they didn't try to comfort me or support me about it in any way. I remember so clearly saying to myself, well, I'm on my own, in a very matter-of-fact way. And it's been like that ever since. I was 16, my truck broke down in the middle of the night on my way home from work. I called my mom. She asked, what do you want me to do about it? And hung up. I was poor. The truck was old. I started calling friends. Eventually a friend's dad came and retrieved me and the truck and got it running again the next day. I never bothered calling mom for help again. Flinching when someone reaches towards them. Silently accepting terrible behavior from a friend/partner. Smiling through tears and telling everyone they're fine. And my most personal one, hugs make me cry as I only received them with the worst of the worst news. Hugs aren't happy/comforting things. Going out of your way to please someone, especially if you care about them. I mean like really over the top. People tend to assume it's the opposite, that they're always closed off. While that can definitely be true, obviously, the range of reactions to trauma vary as wildly as the people themselves. I've found that a lot of people really go overboard with keeping their friends, or especially their significant other, taken care of. Hypervigilance. This. I would get so angry at my husband because he wouldn't consider things that I considered to be basic shit. Turns out I have extreme hypervigilance. It blew my mind that others couldn't naturally pick up who is walking up to them by how their steps sound. It's like a really shitty superpower built to keep me stressed for free. Edit, I feel like people somehow construed that only traumatized people get this. I think everyone has this ability. What I'm remarking on with naturally is how it felt, for me, to do it so easily and nonchalantly for reasons that aren't, being afraid. Some people don't realize they do it. Some people simply don't have a keen awareness of surroundings. To me, it felt more natural than anything. The way I use it, the degree to which I rely on it, and the severity of the way it impacts my day is what is unnatural. Hopefully that aids in any confusion. Insanely independent. They've learned not to trust anyone to help them, so do everything themselves. This is me. I absolutely hate asking people for help. My own sister and her family took me in after my parents died, and it immediately became clear that they didn't want me to ask them for much, and 7 years later I'm still hearing about how much they did for me to make me seem ungrateful if I piss them off. I recently stopped talking to them. Low self-esteem, difficulty accepting compliments or constantly feeling inadequate. My counselor is trying to teach me that I can just say thank you when receiving a compliment. It's hard, but in the past I would either just go numb not knowing what to say, or I would have to correct their compliment and remind them what a bag of shit I am. In hindsight, I see how fucking weird that is. But in the moment, compliments feel terrible, mocking almost. I wasn't deserving of kind words. I was never raised with compliments, it was just mockery and sarcasm. And since my parents also used if we don't say anything, then you're probably doing okay. If we have to say something, you're fucking up mentality, this has been a very hard adjustment. Insanely independent. They've learned not to trust anyone to help them, so do everything themselves. Yes. I had a lot of this, but there was one big moment when I was about 10. I came to my parents with a pretty significant problem and was told that they couldn't do anything about it. And they didn't try to comfort me or support me about it in any way. I remember so clearly saying to myself, well, I'm on my own, in a very matter-of-fact way. And it's been like that ever since. A friend that is known since we were 6 years old was thrown out of her house for falling in love with a mulatto. We were in junior year of high school and I asked my parents if she could stay with us until she found a place. Our parents had been friends for over a decade. I thought they'd say yes just to make sure she didn't end up in a bad situation. They said no. I asked why my friend couldn't come stay at our house for just a few days. They told me it was their house and their answer was no. At 16 I realized it wasn't my home too. It was a jarring wake-up call. They'd had dozens of family and friends stay with us while they arrived from Cuba and found their footing. They'd always helped, but in this instance it was a hard no with no discussion. My friend would eventually quit school, move to Florida, and marry the guy. Had 2 kids and they're still married going on over 40 years. Had some tragedy with the killing of her youngest son, but they're still going strong. I keep my own counsel and rarely ask for help. Insanely independent. They've learned not to trust anyone to help them, so do everything themselves. Yes, I had a lot of this, but there was one big moment when I was about 10. I came to my parents with a pretty significant problem and was told that they couldn't do anything about it. And they didn't try to comfort me or support me about it in any way. I remember so clearly saying to myself, well, I'm on my own, in a very matter-of-fact way. And it's been like that ever since. While I had an extremely similar experience. At 12, some kid was bullying me and pantsed me in class, so the next day I got him back. I was sent to the dean's office and he was like, "What would your parents think?" I said, "Well, my parents always told me to stand up for myself, and I know they'll have my back." He called my mom, and on speakerphone with me, the dean, and this bully in the room, she started saying how disappointed she was and noticed I had been changing lately and didn't know what was wrong with me. Instantly started crying, and I told myself I would only rely on myself moving forward, and my relationship with my family was all downhill from then on. Damn, that moment when you realize all the comments perfectly describe you. Early maturing, dead eyes, distant stare, work obsessed because I always want to be busy, desire for control of my situation, difficulty expressing emotions, putting on mask, physical reactions to things around/near me, not liking unwanted touching, can be defensive about things, sense of responsibility, always trying to care for people around me, etc. I also had severe trust issues.
Hey guys, this is the Rogue YouTuber here. I recently had a big change in my life. I had a baby daughter. Here she is. If you could do me a favor and remember to hit the subscribe button and bang the bell, I'm hoping to really create a YouTube channel that really gets people excited and brings people the best, most interesting content collated from across the internet. I'm saving up to save my little girl to Carnegie Mellon Computer Science Department. So please remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.